The facilitator for today's session is Ekaleshwari Madhavi Devidasi. So few of you might be knowing about her, probably the old IYS girls, and few of you who have newly joined, and the rest of you would know her today. She is a very senior devotee in IYS and has been taking care of the various preaching activities in IYS and practicing Krishna consciousness for several years. She has completed her MS in Cleans Technology in UK. She is based out of Chennai, and now after her marriage she has moved to Boston, US. She is a very inspirational and amazing speaker. She delivers rich, thought provoking content that makes it easier to practically relate the principles of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam in our day to day life. Hope this session will be very useful to all of you. IYS is ISKCON Youth Services of Chennai Temple. So it's a forum where like-minded girls come together, we discuss, we learn and apply the Vedic wisdom in our lives like Bhagavad Gita. So the teachings of Bhagavad Gita are so interesting that anyone can connect with it and it can help us in each and every aspect of our lives. We have several forums like singing, dancing, painting, creative skills like video making, etc. So if you have, let us know if you have any skills and would like to contribute to any of this. So Hare Krishna. So over to you, Ekleshwari Mataji.
Hare Krishna, just a minute so that I'm just trying to, yes, I think now it's better. So yes, I don't know if others can see me, but Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna everybody,
Hare
welcome
Krishna
you all.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna, I don't see a lot of you. Yes, now I can see all of you. Yes, yes. Good evening, everybody. So before we start the session, I would like to chant once to the Lord so that we have a very, very fruitful session today. Namaom Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swami Iti Namni Namacharya Padaya Nitaya Kripa Pradayani Gaura Katadhamadaya Nagar Gramatarini Namaom Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namni Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, yes, today is one very interesting session that we all are going to have. My name is Ekaleshwari. Thank you, Deepa, for the lovely introduction. Honored, but very, very grateful to all of you. Um, is there anybody who is attending the IYS session for the first time? Would you like to raise your hand? There is an option in Zoom where you can raise your hand. So is there any one of you who's attending for the first time today? Oh, we have. Wow. Smitra, Bharani, Aishwarya, Kanta, there is one name I can't read, Logeshwari, Bhavani, Aparajita Bhaskar, Rakshita Rajagopal, Shruti. Wow, so amazing. Welcome you all. I hope you enjoyed today's session. So we all have come to this stage of, at some point of in our life, we are in the stage where, okay, should I argue or should I not argue? We've all come there. We've all been there. And I'm sure many of you would have been thinking, why am I facing the same situation again and again? Srila Prabhupada, who's the founder Acharya of ISKCON, he says, in this world, right, nobody aims for misery. Nobody aims for problems. It comes anyway. So I don't want any drama. I don't want to argue anybody. I don't want to confront anybody. Still the problem will come. Still people will come and try to provoke you. Isn't it? So what do we do then? How do I gracefully disagree? How do I say no? When do I say no? Where do I draw the line? How can I reduce? How can I learn? How can I use this as an opportunity for personal growth? Usually, when we come out of an argument, correct, right? When we come out of the argument, how do we feel, all of us? Can we type in the chat window? How do all of us feel? How many of you have had good experience when arguing or after arguing? Has anybody felt great? Just type yes or no for this. Has anybody felt great after an argument? No, no, no. I am hearing so many no's. No. Any good experience out of even one argument? No. So many no's I'm seeing. Oh, there is one yes. Oh, wow. Genius. That's great. That's amazing. So that's what we are trying to hope to achieve. But most of us, we have never found anything good coming out of it. We have lost relationships. We've had relationships which is completely irreparable, no peace of mind, no happiness. Although we have spoken whatever we wanted to say in that argument, we wanted to communicate something. We have communicated everything. Still, it is not satisfied. Still, you should be happy now. You told everything. You scolded the other person. You argued properly. At the end of the day, you should feel great, right? But then what happens? We don't feel great. Sorry. We don't feel great. Okay. So now another question. So you have to type in the window box. Okay, the chat window. Is there anyone who has never argued in their life? Never. You have never argued with other person, or the other person has never argued with you? So no, nobody has argued with you also. Nobody has argued with you. Not just you starting an argument, but has, yes, you have argued. No, I have argued. Yes, yes. No, no. I am asking a question is there anyone there? Has there been a situation in your life where you have never argued, or you have never come across a person who has argued with you? Yeah. So what do we understand is that, yes, many of you are saying no. Yes, I think yes, definitely no. Exactly. So what I'm trying to say is we all come to a understanding from this. Why I've asked you this question is that an argument has never led to anything good. Correct? It has never led to anything good. You've always felt bad, never satisfied. It is always a loss situation. And then another point, next question I asked was, has there been a situation where you have never argued or somebody has not argued with you? What do I get out of it? Many of you have said no. Yes. The point is that even if I don't want to argue, see, some people, we automatically argue. Some people, even if I don't want to argue, there will be some person who will come and argue with us, accuse us. Hai na? So that is what I'm trying to say, is that even if we don't want, somebody will come and start the argument with us. We don't want, we didn't ask, we didn't even say anything. We are in one corner sitting and doing something else. That person will come and will start arguing. Correct? Yeah. That is the problem. So what do we understand? Understand that we cannot escape quarrel. We cannot escape conflict. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that one of the characteristics of Kali Yuga, Kali Yuga is the age we are living in. One of the characteristics is that it is an age of quarrel and hypocrisy. Quarrel means what? Fighting. So it is this world and this particular time period that we live in, that Kali Yuga, we cannot escape fights. We cannot escape quarrel. It is not at all possible. Oh God. Imagine, here we are hoping for an ideal world. Oh, one day there will be a time when there would be no problems. But here I am like sort of bursting that bubble for you. No, there always will be conflicts as long as you live in this world. There'll always be problem. As Kali Yuga progresses, people will become, for small things, they'll start fighting with each other. It's not a big thing. For small thing, people will fight each other. And a lot of people will start becoming hypocrites. So that is how it is going to be. So why we say it, why I'm saying is to give you sort of a understanding. 3 understandings we have come to. That this world is going to be like this, it's just going to get worse. So even if I don't want to argue, people are going to argue anyway. So even if I don't look for misery, if I don't plan, if I don't act, if I don't desire for misery, it comes anyway. I can't avoid it. So what I'm saying is we can't avoid arguments. And arguments have never led to anything good. Personal experience, correct? You all have said that. For me also, personal experience is arguing. After an argument, I just feel terrible, angry, miserable. I have wasted a lot of time. Correct? Okay. Great, Mataji. Now what? Yes. Now what you are going to do is, now you think. So what we are going to do is that, are you attracting drama, argumentative people? Now I'm just want you to sort of reflect a little bit. This particular session is sort of a self-reflective session. So here the topic is to argue or not to argue. Meaning you as an individual, you are put in a situation. It is not about the other person. Now it is just about you. So if I am put in a situation where, it's a very provocative situation where somebody is teasing me, bullying me, or is being unfair to me, sort of a situation, very provocative situation, or accusing me, what do I have to do? The choice that I take, whether I argue or not to argue. Correct? So for that decision we have to make an informed choice. Correct? We have to make that informed choice. First, we start to observe ourselves, because we are the decision makers. Every day we make decisions. We have always, although every time we try something new, still we are put into the same situation. Correct? That argument, like even if you stay away, it still comes. So how do I crack it? So this particular session will help you to crack it. If you just crack it right, it is not that the problem will not come, but how you respond to the problem, you will be able to identify and apply, making it very, very simple. Like, see, rain, you can't stop rain from coming. But if I know rain is going to come, then I'll take an umbrella and go. Na? That is all it means. Like, the problem is going to come. Argument, people are going to argue with me. I may sometimes lose control and argue with them. At least take that preventive measure. Prevent completely, avoid completely. Okay, I have argued, or I am in the midst of argument. Should I argue further or not? At least somewhere you reduce the problem or the situation. Okay. So what we do is, whenever there is an argument is basically what? You usually have sort of an opposing idea. But our conditioning is such that we approach a disagreement as something like a war zone, like a battlefield. It's only like from my side is attack, attack, attack. The other person who's receiving is attack, attack, attack. Where that happens? It happens only in a war place, correct? Where both sides are only attacking, attacking, and attacking. And what do we think in a war? There is always a winner and a loser. So that is how we are approaching an argument. Correct. There should be a winner, there should be a loser. So through this session, I'm going to help you to see it in a new way. Is it true that in a situation, one person is correct means, does that mean automatically the other person is wrong? Can two people be correct at the same time? So we are going to I'm going to give you sort of a new perspective to how do we approach in terms of argument and disagreements. Okay, now you tell me, what was your experience from your last argument? Okay, anybody can raise your hand. Probably I can ask you, what was your experience from your last argument, the last really bad argument you had? What was the argument about? Okay. And what did you do and how did you react? Okay. So I'm just giving you like few seconds. Think of the last argument you had. Last argument. It could be your mother, it could be your brother, it could be like your husband or your dad or your friend or an auto person. Could be anybody you had. For those who haven't raised your hand, you can take a pen and paper. I think this session, it requires people to have a pen and paper. So I request all of you to have a pen and paper. Okay. Now write down with me. Last argument. You don't have to write one essay, but just write, what was your last argument about? What was your experience? Experience means, how did you feel? Okay, through your last argument, you felt angry, upset. So write down. So my experience of your last argument is angry, or it could be like sad, hurt, felt unfair. So whatever you experienced, whatever you felt, or whatever you thought about, you write. Okay, just keep it one word. Okay. Next question is, what was the argument about? Like it could be like the argument between you and your brother could have been, hey, you didn't switch off the light. That could have been the reason of your argument. Correct? Didn't switch off the light. You didn't put laundry. So that is the reason. What was, so no essay answers. It's like one word. The answer is like didn't do chore or didn't put laundry. A few words, that's all. So what did you do? How did you, what did you do means, how did you react? So you could say like, in that situation, I reacted angrily. I used swear words. I give him a tight slap. So what did you do? Okay. If anybody has written down, can somebody raise their hand so that they can answer? Some of you can answer your. Oh, Raji. Yes, Raji. I'll mute you. Yes. Raji, can you unmute? Hare Krishna, Raji.
Are you able to hear me, Mataji?
Yes, I can hear you. What was your experience, Raji, from your last argument? How did you feel?
My last argument, I felt very tense and I fought for because it was for my academics, because we had a tight plan after education. Actually, I'm doing undergraduation. After this,
Mm-hmm.
I'm planning to go for higher studies.
Okay.
So for that, I should plan. So I think I should go with different, with related to my interest. So I don't want others to pamper for my studies. Is that because it's my decision and I love to do it? But in some cases, some people, they used to come and pamper me, and they used to say, "Why are you doing like this? This does not have that much value. Why are you
Mm-hmm.
going there?" So I used to tell, "No, it's my interest, and I'm just here." To justify it, I will, satisfying all of us is very difficult in these days, Mataji, as we all
Correct.
know. Yeah. So
So how did you react?
my reaction was, first I tried to handle them calmly by chanting the holy names, because I used it, because I would used to, yeah, okay, first we should be calm. I should, but at one stage I would lose my temper. But when we are trying to justify it, they are not able to understand me. Sir, how does it go, Mataji? We would be
Correct.
starting in a calm manner, but it goes, and I used to yell and shout, and
Yeah. So
and
you
at the
sort
end,
of yelled, you were upset, you were angry. So your experience out of it was you were sad and hurt and you were,
very that day was not. It was like a black day.
yeah, it was
Yes.
not great experience at all. Correct? You
Yes.
felt very unfair, like unheard, like why are these people not understanding me?
Yes,
Correct?
Mataji.
That's what your conversation was about. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Raji. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Anybody else would like to share your experience of your last argument? Any one person will pick up. Yes, Veeraswati. I think you can unmute Veeraswati. Yes, Veeraswati.
Yeah.
Hare
Hi,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
Mataji. Last time, last argument was with my husband, Mataji. It's related
Mm,
to, we recently bought one new house, and related to
mm,
that, and all, we had one argument.
mm,
Actually, in that argument, I know that my husband's mistake was not there, but still I couldn't control my anger in that situation, and I shouted at him.
mm,
And after
mm.
that argument, I felt really bad and sorry for him. And even though I said sorry, I felt really bad.
Correct. So I'm sure, thank you very much, Veeraswati, for sharing with us. It's so nice of you to do that, because together in this room or in this online program, we are trying to learn. Some of you have not answered. So in your paper, in your notebook where you have written down, you know, right? So for all of us, the experience have not been great. The argument is something all of you would have felt like you didn't win. See, there was a situation where Raji was like trying to convince her friends and family of her decision. She was not happy, although she convinced. It was sort of not her mistake, sort of. Correct? That's why she feels it unfair. And there is Veeraswati. She rectified her mistake. She apologized to her husband. Still, that experience was not great. So what we are going to do, like some of them are saying, like most of them, when I've discussed about or when I've personal reflection, I can say sometimes, although we know it's wrong, we still sort of, we can't have that restraint. We can't have that control. We sort of let go. We continue to argue, although we know it's wrong. Correct? That is why we have that same pattern. So there is something called pattern. There is sort of a behavioral pattern that we have to, like a microscope, that we sort of observe. See, imagine two people are fighting. Correct? You will see things very as it is. Oh, this person is talking too much. That is why this person is upset. Correct? But sometimes we need that sort of intelligence and sort of way of looking at others, you should look within also, look little deeper also, so that we identify that patterns that we have, we observe, we review that pattern. Okay, we observe that pattern, we review, where am I going wrong, what can I do, you learn about it, and then you apply. So during this session, towards the end where we discuss a little deep, I will give you a set of solutions. So what you can do, you first identify that pattern, review, and then you learn and you apply. After you apply the solution, it may work. For example, if it doesn't work, again come back, review that problem, review that particular incident. What happened? What did I do? What could I have done? Learn from that problem, learn from that situation, or learn from that incident. Now, see how can you avoid it? How can you avoid it? By applying some solutions. Again, see what the outcome is. Okay, a problem is solved. The next time when provoking situation happened, I didn't do anything. I was happy. The outcome is happiness. That is all we want. Nobody wants drama. Nobody wants to feel unhappy. So that's the outcome. That's the outcome I want. Did I achieve it? No. Then again review. So it's like a cycle that we have to keep doing. For that to do, first we have to identify our patterns. Correct? We have to identify our patterns. So usually, what do you do? Oh, some of you have typed. I'm just seeing the messages in the chat window. Yes. So usually what happens is, during an argument, during an argument, what do you think? Your cognizance of you, your assessment of yourself, what do you think you usually do during an argument? So right now, I am only focusing on myself. This is assessing my behavioral pattern. Okay. So an argument happens, or you pick up an argument. Why do you argue? Supraja is telling, we always think we are right. Somebody is, okay, Priya is telling out of anger. Correct? To prove my point. So what are the reasons why you argue? And why do you continue to argue? So proving our point. Any other point do we have? Why do you argue? Our basic conditioning. I feel my point is right. I can't control myself to make them understand. Okay. Anything else? Despite past experience, we think argument will bring happiness. Wonderful points, Neha. Okay. Then what else is there? Out of frustration, somebody is like, because I didn't do mistake. To help the other person, Nivedita is telling, Apsara is telling, we feel arguments have a peaceful and happy end. To make things clear. What Sindhu means, like, is it correct that you want to communicate? Okay. Priya is telling, if we suppress, then we won't feel good. Correct. If we don't talk something, sometime wrong statements are considered right. Okay. Yeah. People will misunderstand us. Express our emotion, Veeraswati is telling. Okay. Now, I have sort of compiled the list of common mistakes we do. I'll say like the behavioral patterns. Now you see that whether you do. Now I have just listed out around, I think 11. It could be more. Some may not be here. You may be unique. Some of you may have all of the above. Some of you may have 4 or 5. It is not about how many I have, how many the other person has. This is your self-assessment. Okay, this is, you are responsible for your life. You have a choice. You can get out of it. There are certain things in our control. That control is the choice. How do I react? How do I respond? That is in our control. How the other person is thinking, what the other person is thinking, what the other person is speaking or doing is not in my control. What is in my control is my thought, word, and action. So that is why this session we are going to focus more on ourselves. Okay. So right now, you all gave your answers. This is what I could compile with. Okay. One, you all said this one. Correct? You want to convince that person that you are right and the other person is wrong. That convincing, you are so stubborn to convince. How can I ever be wrong? I'm so intelligent. The other person is foolish. I'm the only intelligent person in the room. You know, so we feel that way. That person is not correct. I am right. Okay. Then what do? Sometimes we cross the boundary. Like example is, you know, if you tell this statement or tell this particular aspect, or every person has something like a trigger zone. Some zone where they are very sensitive about. Correct? Just randomly you say something about it. And that will push their buttons and that's all. You know, if you say this, your friend or your father or your mother or your husband or your mother-in-law will be upset. You know, you have experienced several times, but just you can't seem to control that urge to like speak. And then what happens? You speak, problem happens. Argument starts. That urge to, you know, if you, that is a crossing the boundary. You know the line. That person has told, you don't talk, you don't touch this subject matter. I am very sensitive about it. Correct? By experience also, you know this particular subject matter is sensitive to the opposite person. But still, you will say, for example, like my dad, although I'm giving a very personal example, but I'm okay in sharing. Like my dad is very sensitive about his family members. So anything I say, like sometimes relatives and all come, na, we meet together during a function, or you visit their house, or they visit our house. Anything I say, my father gets really upset. Something about the family I start talking, that is his zone. That is his sensitive area. Some people don't like that, you know, you tell something about their, somebody has a sensitive area is like their dad. You know, it could be anything. Or somebody is like certain behavior. They don't like it. They say that in front of me, you don't do this. But then in front of them, we'll do. So that is called crossing the boundary. Anybody, I'm sure some of you can relate to it. Then what do you do during when we are arguing? We start either like swearing, you start bullying that person, forcing that person, start saying such unparliamentary words they say. Like when the same words are spoken to you, you feel hurt, but very easily you say that about the other person. And what do you do when you are arguing? What does one do? You start judging that person. Look how she is thinking, look how she is speaking. Very selfish lady, very selfish person. Oh, such a narcissist. So while you do, you also judge the person. Correct? Don't we do this? We judge. Such cruel people. Such characterless people. Correct? No? That person is so characterless. No morals, no values. We say that. And then what do? We take things personally. Then we are very stubborn to communicate. Like some of you have told, na, in the messages you shared, when I asked the question, what do? You are like, we want to share what we feel. So you are stubborn. Whether that person wants to hear or not, you don't care. Whatever is there in me, I want to let it out. Because if I keep it inside me, problem is mine, na? I'll have to face it. So you're stubborn to communicate. So what happens? All this leads to argument, or it just escalates an easily solvable argument into something else. Then you have absolutely no empathy. You don't speak to listen, dismissing, as if you feel that way. You know how I feel, you know what my problem is. You dismiss that person, dismiss that what that person is feeling, they're going through is all invalid. And during this is something that I can relate to. During the argument, I'm constantly thinking, oh, this is the flaw in her argument. What could I counter argue? Yes or no? Please type in the window. Do you all feel that way? Sometimes during argument, we feel, you know, this is what I hope I remember this beautiful point. If I say this point, that's it. It's like a slam down, it's like a checkmate. So constantly, we are actually not speaking to listen. We are only speaking or keeping quiet to like find out, how do I counter argue and find fault in her arguments. And even if we are wrong, we never want to accept that we are wrong. That could also lead to arguments. You are so stubborn that, okay, what if this person does not respect me? If I accept the wrong, what if this person does not respect me? Then even if facts are there in front of you, evidence is there in front of you, you don't want to accept it because you feel that whatever you are saying is right, the other person cannot be right. And you are stubborn to change the other person. And then what do? A small thing. For example, you came from office, lot of problems in office, correct? Your mother gave you food, and the food supposed to be, you like hot food, but the food became cold. What do? You just yell at your mother. Like, I go out and I work so hard, and all I'm asking you to give me is half. I called you before na amma. I called you like 1 hour ago that you keep me warm food. I am so hungry. Whole day I didn't even eat anything. I informed you. Still I came on time. Still you can't give me hot food. And your mother is like, Arey, what is this? Even I am working. Even I have a lot of work in the house. Correct? It's completely an unnecessary argument. What happens? You are in a bad mood. You come and you unload at somebody else. And that person can't take it, and that leads to an argument. Okay. Okay. Any questions? Anuttama. Quickly, I'll take one question.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, so there are three questions.
Okay.
The first one is...
I'll take one. I'll take the rest later.
Okay, fine. So the first question is about why do they say emotions has to come out as and when required? Like if you don't argue back, then we keep the emotions to ourselves. So
correct.
They do say,
isn't that an issue? Is that the question?
Yeah.
So yes, that is a problem. Like if you have bottled up emotions, maybe at that point of time you will control, tolerate, and the situation is diffused. But you keep bottled up emotions, it will burst one day or the other. So that is a problem anytime. So my question is that person the only person where you can express your feeling out? Is that the right time to unload your emotions? Think. Is there an other option? Is there an alternative? For example, let's say you and your mom fought, and you feel that your mom is not able to understand what you are feeling, and you both are arguing. But tell me, like you both are argument, like you are itself telling me that argument is not a very happy situation or happy atmosphere. Correct? So is that the time where you express your vulnerable feelings? No. Either when your mom and you are in a better mood, then you can share. Or at that point of time, you really want to unload. Talk to a friend, talk to somebody whom you trust, somebody who's a good listener, somebody who's a non-judgmental person. Unload to them. This is what I feel, this is why, this. When you speak out whatever you're feeling, 80% of the problem is solved. Most of the time, the situation is much bigger than the other time, is because we have never communicated. So at that point of time, you need some to communicate, because it is very suffocating. Find somebody whom you trust and communicate. You want to communicate to your mom, then find a time when you both are in a great mood or in a great time to speak, very relaxed mood, then you speak. Okay. Now this was of why that behavioral patterns we saw, correct, in ourselves. Now we see in terms of a general. Why do you argue? Why the other person is also arguing? Why? Because it takes two hands to clap. Correct? There are two people involved. In an argument, two people are involved. So we need to understand why you also argue, why the other person also is arguing. Correct? Yes. So there are two reasons. Two factors are there. One is external factors, one is internal factors. Okay. Another one. Okay, I think Veeraswati's hand is up. Okay. So external factors is body language. Sometimes the reason why one starts arguing, this is a general idea also I am giving, so that we understand why you argue and why the other person argues. Okay. Sometimes body language. Like for example, somebody they use their hands and argue, or they speak. How dare you do this? How can you, they'll say. And that irks you. That sort of pisses you. You say them, hello, don't use your hands and don't show your fingers and speak to me. Correct? That could lead to an argument. Body language. For example, you are going to an hospital. Correct? Hospital, not everybody goes for something good. Somebody is sick or something, you're very tensed. You are in the hospital lobby. Receptionist is there. You are trying to politely ask that person, I have to go to this particular block. Where is it? This is what the bill is. Or you are asking very important questions. And the receptionist is like, hello, வீட்ல நல்லா இருக்கிறாங்களா? घर में सब ठीक है? So she is talking her personal call. Here you are there, like trying to ask her. Anybody will go to receptionist only, na? The staff only, na? And she is completely like telling you, wait, na? Everybody is waiting. Can't you see? You see that that body language, the way that person is speaking, the way that person is communicating. So what happens? That leads to an argument. You will start arguing with the receptionist, na? What is this? I have come here. Why are you not responding properly? It's your duty to respond. And that lady will start arguing. You will argue. Correct? That body language. Then tone of voice. Although that person is talking, what the content is nothing wrong, but the way, that tone in which that person speaks, that will lead to an argument. Correct? Or your tone of voice. Your tone, like for example, my tone, even if I'm speaking like normally, it is like as if I'm waiting to fight with them. That's what people tell, that my voice is very loud. Some people are very sweet, soft voice. Like my voice is very loud. So I often get misunderstood for what I am saying. People think I'm fighting with them, and I'm telling, no, this is how I normally talk. So I have been in such unnecessary drama for me for no reason, but just my tone of voice. People get upset and they'll argue with you. Correct? And sometimes usage of words. Like for example, sometimes it would be very, very subtle, very accusatory. They'll be like, as if you want to do this. Chumma, you don't tell. Or like they will do an attack like, oh, Aini didn't study. Ekaleshwari didn't study. Oh, Supraja didn't study. Yeah, you don't this. You have never done this. You understood the way that usage of words is, you always never do. When have you ever done in life? When have you ever come early? So you use the word always. So, but if you see evidence, correct, the other person also will use, you never do. That never is like something like ever exists. Like you never do, you always. You are always like this with me. Correct? Have you heard the statement always? And you are like, Arey, but last time I was nice, na. Last time I came early, na. Last time I got a nice gift with you, na. And in your head is like, last time you did. Last 5 times you came early. Before that you came late. Yes, you are a late person. But last 5 times you came early. That person will forget everything. So they'll use always, never. Like instead of saying, I need water, that person will tell, why are you taking a cup only for yourself? See, the person wanted to communicate, please bring for me. I also need 1 cup of water. Rather, what they are saying, why only you are taking? You understand? So usage of words is very important. Another role model. Like for example, if I've always seen my parents fighting, so I come to a belief that that is the only way I can communicate with that person. Only by arguing can I communicate. Argument is normal. Correct? My environment. Who my role model? My parents. My environment. My entire family, they talk like this only. They always argue. Constant fight and argument goes on. And then as a child, that is all I see. When I grow up, that is all I see. Then I think that is all it is. That is all how one should be. So one person will become like, their upbringing is like that, where talking loud, saying things like this is very normal because that is how everybody in their family did. Some people, they wait for you, literally, like a colleague, like a friend. Like I remember when I was in college, they will constantly poke one of my friends. She was on Vijay. So many of you may know or may not know, there is one actor called Vijay in Tamil Nadu, in Tamil. So there could be like, let's say, Salman or Shah Rukh in North, you know. So this girl used to like Vijay a lot. So the opposing gang used to be, there is another actor called Ajit. So these two fandoms will always fight. Like there is Salman or Shah Rukh, or in Telugu, I don't know who people have, like let's say Pawan Kalyan and Junior NTR. They fight. So this guy used to keep coming and showing memes to her. See Vijay meme, see Vijay meme, such a bad actor. So they will come and try to provoke you, knowing that you are sensitive about it. They know that you will react immediately. Correct? These are some external factors. Sometimes some personality is itself like that. They're very dominant personality. So what happens? That leads to an argument. Sometimes you have unresolved issues. Unresolved issues. Why I'm taking a lot of time and explaining is for you all to think, which is my red flag? Where am I doing? What is the other person doing? Why we want to know why the red flags of the other person, or try to understand why that person is behaving the way they do, then it is easy to resolve or easy to make an informed decision. Like, let's say that person, I know that person's nature or that person's tone of voice itself is like that. So what do? So my decision making is easy to argue or not argue. You easily let go. Yeah. It's just her tone of voice is like that. So it's easy for you to choose. It's not necessary to argue. Wait, I'll not be in attack mode. I'll not be in defensive mode. Defense and attack, defend and attack. Correct? I'll not be in that mode. Rather, I'll sit and listen. What she focus on her content, focus on what she's trying to say rather than how she's saying. You understand? That is why these external factors is for yourself, red flags, and for the other person, so that you can understand them. Sometimes Somebody can be like have an unresolved issue. Correct? Something from their past. Okay, maybe they may have been over a certain situations which they have not yet been over. Like for example, as a child, they had they didn't have any friends. They have very low self-esteem. Nobody used to tell them that they are pretty. Okay, like such stuff. So what happens when they grow up? Correct? When they grow up, they are thinking like it sort of carries on with them. It is not yet resolved. Correct? And then it's sort of bottled up in them. And then what happened? Somebody tells something about it, they just flare up and they start arguing. Or in such situations, like, for example, they see like a beauty contest. Because they have such low self-esteem and bad image about themselves, they'll start picking up fights with somebody who is very beautiful. Okay, they'll feel that. Internal factors. So this person or you will have this strong sense of morals and justice that you want to sort of like, you feel this is wrong. For example, you should not litter. Correct? You should not litter the road. That is your sense of morals and sense of justice. And somebody litters. And then what you feel? This is wrong. And you go and argue. Like animal killing is wrong. You see, it's an injustice. Injustice to others and injustice to yourself also. Like if, for example, your relative is scolding your cousin, you find it very unaccepting because you also face lot of issues with your relatives. They always scold you. Now what you feel? Are I have been scolded, I have suffered, this person should not suffer. I never had food, I always had these problems, this person should not have the problem. So what you do, you poke your nose and you start speaking up because you perceive it as an injustice. They are doing wrong. They are doing wrong to me. They're doing wrong to that person. And I have to correct it because a similar situation has happened to me. That could be a perceived injustice. Okay. Sometimes you are hurt. Correct? You are hurt. That is why you pick up arguments or that person is arguing. So it is both ways. And you are scared. Like for example, you have an exam fear. Okay. I'm giving you a crude example. Like I'm sure there would be like one girl. Let's take an example of a girl. She's very scared. You have to write an exam. I'm so scared, I didn't prepare. Then her friend will say, yeah, this is how you will say. And you will write the exam and you will score, you will pass. Chumma, you don't tell. So that person is dismissing her, correct, and provoking her. And she was like, no, I swear I didn't study yesterday. There was no current in my house. And my father was very ill and I had to take care of him. So I couldn't study at all. And this person is like, yeah. And they start teasing and mocking this girl. This girl gets very upset. And she starts arguing. Who are you to tell me how? Like, I know what happened to me. Okay, you shut up. And that person is like, hey, you too much up another D. And they will start arguing. Fight will continue. You understand that person is scared of exams. And this person is using that to argue. Correct? Or for example, I copied the exam. And I'm very scared that my professor sort of found out. And my friend is telling, don't worry, it won't happen. I get upset. How do you know? You are not the only person you are not the person who got caught. I am one caught. You don't give me advice. And that guy will be like, I'm just telling you to relax only na. What relax? You understand? I'm so scared. And that leads to an argument. I feel very undervalued. Sometimes I'm in a very bad mood, which I have explained, we saw also, right? Sometimes I have huge ego. I don't want to accept I'm wrong. Sometimes I'm jealous of the other person, or the other person is jealous of me. The other person has a huge ego. We spoke about suppressed feelings. Correct? Sometimes we suppress it so much. Like, for example, a situation like you don't have a good relationship with your mother-in-law. Correct? And what happens? Your mother-in-law is like that. I don't want to explain further. So you don't have a good relationship. Now, if you tell your husband, it will create more problems. He will come into the picture and the problem will become bigger. So what happens? You keep suppressing it. There is no one to talk to. Then what you do, it starts showing in your behavior. And your husband will come and ask, hey, what happened? Kya hai? Kuch nahi hai. Chalo na. And then husband will get upset. Like, why are you talking to me like this? And then one argument will start. So what happens? The suppressed feelings open up somewhere. Sometimes you have different ideology and beliefs. Like you may believe in God. Some guy may not believe in God at all. That atheist guy will come and constantly mock you and come and I don't know what his problem is. He'll keep coming and telling you that, oh, you people are sentimental, you are dumb, you are fool, you God people and all is like Sanghi, BJP, all that they will tell. They'll make fun of you. They will constantly ask you to debate with them. Come debate with me, come debate with me. And when you put forward your points, they're not even willing to listen. They'll call you sentimental. They use it as an opportunity to make fun of you and they'll feel better. Correct? And then you get upset and you start argue back with them because you identify that behavior. Sometimes a person is completely ignorant. Like you tell them, the argument will be like, the earth is round. Another person is like, no, it's flat. You understand? Evidence is there right in front of them. Still, they are like, no. What I'm saying is correct. Correct? You assume. You start judging the people. Correct? So these are all some of the internal factors. One of the main internal factors is generalization. I'll quickly tell that. Generalization is, for example, like I was giving, that your boyfriend is, for example, you not boyfriend, I'll say like you, okay, let's use a partner example only. So for example, you and your boyfriend is there, okay? He is always late and you hate people who are late. Okay, so you are planning to go out somewhere for some important thing you're supposed to go and you are waiting. Your boyfriend or your partner, your husband or your friend, it could be anybody, they come late. You are hurt, you are annoyed. Okay, and you start yelling at that person. Okay, and the other person, the boyfriend or the partner or your friend, is upset because he is giving a reason that I swear they blocked the road, that is why I couldn't come. And then your argument is, you always come late. And he is arguing, Arey, last 5 times I came on time, I came early, I apologized, I did so much things for you to forgive me. I gave you gifts, I did surprise things for you to forgive. Why do you still remember? Last 5 times I came. This time only a problem happened. This time I couldn't come. And I'm giving you valid reason now. Why are you picking a fight on me? Why can't you be just happy with the way it is? It's okay, I came, right? Come, let's go. And that the girl, I get upset. What do you mean like that? Where is the evidence? You always come late. You don't value my time. Even I am busy, even I have work, but I make my time, I come on time. What is your problem? It's just that you don't respect me. And this is how you will feel. So what happens is, I feel that my reality is a set of evidences I have. Correct? All the times he was late, I was able to sort of confirm. See, set of evidences there in order for me. Because there is order in my reality, so it is very convincing for me. This is the truth. I believe that. Okay. The other person, for him, the boyfriend who has come late, he is like, Arey, but I am giving evidence, na. There is this 5 times I didn't come. Why is she not focusing? So his is this 5 set of evidence. Because 5 times he came. For her, it is all that minus that 5. You understand? The same 2 people involved focus on this, see the same situation completely differently, and both of them generalize it. So she generalized that you never come on time. He generalizes that you are never satisfied. Because I come, I do. See, you are not even appreciating that I have changed. One time I make a mistake and see, that's all. So he generalized like this. So this is one of the reasons why we fight. Now, we argue or not to argue. What do? We have to think, is this worth arguing? Is this not worth arguing? How important it is to me? What is the outcome I am hoping for in this argument? What do I want to achieve? So we have to ask such questions to ourselves. Do I have to respond now? Can I respond later? Correct? So what do? You go on a lookout. The lookout is, sort of that review, learn, and you apply. So you sort of ask, this red flags that I've listed, is it there in me or the other person? So you have a lookout. Okay, observe. Okay, I am not in a good mood. So let me stay away from the situation because it will only aggravate it. Or I am that person is a fanatic person. He's a narcissist. He will not accept, very egoistic person. So like that. Or this person is emotional. Right now, she is only hurt. So all I have to do is just acknowledge that hurt. Then the problem is solved. So easily if you find out the red flags in that person and yourself, it's easy to make an informed choice. To argue further, if I have to argue, where do I have to stop? How much will I argue? All that decision you can be taken. Some from scriptures we will see. So Krishna is there. Okay, Lord Krishna is there and Arjuna is there. So Arjuna was in a conflict situation. So like us, he was in a conflict situation, like to fight or not to fight. Correct? Arjuna asked Krishna, Krishna, you go front to show me who is in the opposite side, opposite army, and my army I want to see. When he saw that, he got really scared. He got really tensed, and he started blurting out and arguing with Krishna. He said, Krishna is like, I don't want to fight. If I fight, this will happen. This will happen. Krishna is like, in whatever Arjuna is telling, Krishna is quietly listening. So, although later Krishna counter argues, and he say, what you are saying is not what a learned person should speak. So basically, Krishna is sort of calling out Arjuna. Like how we say, na, why are you talking like a fool? In a layman term, that is what Krishna is speaking. But when Arjuna is sharing, although that statements are not befitting Arjuna, Krishna never interrupts. So one thing we can learn, when somebody is telling something, don't interrupt, listen. The problem happens is we don't listen. We only want to keep speaking. That person wouldn't have even finished the first sentence. We would start speaking and answering for that person's question. No, let them talk. So if you see in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna will start to speak only after Arjuna says, oh Krishna, I don't know what to do. Now you tell me. So Arjuna was scared, and then his emotions are so high. Okay. And he is feeling very, very anxious, scared, and a lot of emotions. So he is emotionally very high. When he's emotionally very high, if you talk to that person will start not appreciative. It will lead to an argument. When a person is very emotionally high, best is to let them cool down, come to an equilibrium. For that, like what Krishna did, we can do. Krishna just patiently waited, listened. Arjuna spoke everything what was in his heart, and Arjuna came to equilibrium and said, Krishna, now you tell me what I have to do. You are my teacher, I am your disciple. Whatever you say, I will follow. So that sense of respect is there between them. So when somebody gives you that respectable position, then you advise them. Otherwise, you don't advise. Because if you advise them when they are emotionally high or otherwise, they are not in the mood to listen. So if you see Bhagavad Gita, sort of a conversation between them. So that conversation never led to an argument. Why? Because Krishna listened. He never interrupted. He acknowledged what Arjuna is going through. Like, yeah, he heard. Sometimes just listening solves everything. That person will cool down, and that person is not in, even that person is not in the mood to argue. Another example, this one example I'll give is Lakshman. So you all know there was there was this deer, correct? Mother Sita saw this beautiful golden deer. And she asked Lord Ram, I want to have that deer. Please catch that deer for me. Lakshman, when he saw the deer, he said that no, that deer doesn't look like belonging to this world. This deer must be from some other world. Maybe it's a demon. Let's not go there. It is harmful for us or it's dangerous. But Mother Sita starts insisting to Lord Ram. Lord Ram, I really like that deer. I want to play with that deer. You please catch. So Lord Ram tells Lakshman, you take care of Mother Sita. And Lord Ram goes. And Lakshman is waiting. We all know the story, right? But there's one part of story many of us don't know. Okay, can you all hear properly? Can you all hear? Somebody's telling they can't hear me. Can you all hear? Yes. Yes. So Lord Ram had left to catch that deer. Okay. And what happens? Suddenly there is this noise. And Mother Sita is panicking. Oh, Lakshman, you go. Something has happened to Lord Ram. Lakshman is confident. He is 100% confident that the Lord Ram, who can do anything to Lord Ram? I am sure he is taken care of. The demons are getting stronger now. So it is something that they are plotting. So you don't worry, Mother Sita. Lord Ram, definitely, whoever the demon is, he would have defeated them and come back. Mother Sita, she was a wife, correct? It was natural for her to be anxious of her husband. She insists, Lord Lakshman, you go. And Lakshman is like, no, Lord Ram asked me to stay here. I will not go. Correct? And then Mother Sita asks him a sentence. Oh, so you are staying here so that you can enjoy with me. My Lord Ram will die. Only we both will be there. Then you can enjoy with me. Imagine Lakshman. Lakshman, till the time when it started, that Vanvas had started till the end, Lakshman didn't even sleep one day. Every day he'll be in lookout throughout the entire day. Lakshman was not even cursed to go for Vanvas. Still he went with Lord Ram and Mother Sita. That was his devotion to Mother Sita and Lord Ram. It is said that Lakshman has never even seen Mother Sita's face. That was his respect for her. And yet, Mother Sita is accusing him of such things. What does Lakshman do? He hears this and then he never reacts. He never judges Mother Sita. He draws the Lakshman Rekha and he goes. And when he goes, he finds in the forest, he finds Lord Ram all better. And Lord Ram asks, why are you here? What happened to Mother Sita? I asked you to stay with her, na? And then Lakshman explains that Mother Sita insisted that I go, that is why I came. And immediately Lord Ram, what does he say? Oh, you are a coward. He says this. So imagine, what did Lakshman do wrong here? His lovable, devoted, lovable, the love of his life, the worshipable lords, both of them are accusing of something so horrible and something he didn't do any mistake. Now, did Lakshman do any mistake? No. But how did Lakshman respond? Lakshman never reacted. Lakshman responded. He took a step away and then he saw that, see, Lord Ram and Mother Sita has done so much for me. They really love me. It is just one incident. So much they have done for me. It's just one incident. They have given me 10 good things and there's one bad thing. It's okay. He let go. Now, is Mother Sita wrong in the situation for sending Lakshman? No, as a wife, she is very, very afraid of her husband's well-being. She can't run into the forest. That is why she is asking Lakshman to go. She is right in her way. So in an argument, it need not be that one person is right, other person is wrong. Sometimes both person can be correct. 5 plus 4 is also 9. 7 plus 2 is also 9. Sometimes two things are also equals the same thing. Okay, I'll skip because I think we are getting late. So how do I resolve? Be detached. I am giving advice. Krishna says to Arjuna after explaining the entire Bhagavad Gita, he says, Yat ichhasi tat kuru. Now Arjuna, I have told you everything that you need to know. You think about it and you decide what to do. So look at the Lord of the universe. Lord Krishna itself is like not attached to the advice he is giving. Sometimes we are attached to the advice that we give. Correct? Oh, look at this person. I spent so much time and advised, and this person is not even following. Sometimes we have to be detached. So when argument, you put forward. You say what you want to say nicely, assertively. That is assertively communicate. You say it assertively. See, I don't like the way you are behaving. You say it and move on. Don't be like, hold on to it. Why that person is not understanding? Why this person is... No, you don't have to think like that. Say and just go. Like, why are you thinking so much? Okay. Another is empathy. You start listening. When you listen, like I said, arguments usually, it will remain as conversation. It will not lead to arguments. Art is accept, acknowledge, respect, and tolerate. So you accept what that person is feeling. That person is feeling hurt. Acknowledge it. Oh, I'm sorry you're feeling hurt. And respect it. Respect people for their opinion they have. It's okay. Respect it. You have a different opinion. Just like you have a different opinion, somebody is have a different opinion. Somebody likes pizza, somebody likes dosa. It's okay, na? You understand what is the necessity to argue? Tolerate. Why we have to tolerate? See, sometimes when you are a devotee, we understand that some things happen because at some point we would have hurt somebody and that karma is coming back to us. If we tolerate, that will cancel out. So whatever I did, I'm getting it back. It got cancelled. But if I react, then I'm creating new karma. Do I want that? Already I'm suffering enough, na? So why do you want to create new karma? So use that as a reason and I try to tolerate. Don't justify. I came late. This time only na I came late. No, don't justify. Try to acknowledge that person is feeling disrespected. Acknowledge it. Rather, justify. Ask them. I'm so sorry. I ask them. Listen to them what they are feeling. Is it so? Participative listening is you feel. You talk to that person. Is it so? Is that how you feel? How do you feel right now? Is that how you felt the last time? So participative listening. Give time to the other person. Give time to yourself and apologize. I usually hear this principle, which works definitely. It's the 72-hour principle. If there is a provoking situation, somebody is arguing with you, take 72 hours to respond to them. Then you will see you will argue better. Somebody was telling now how to argue better. Somebody asked. Give yourself 72 hour 3 days, and then you send. You will see that all your emotions are come out, and you only speak what is necessary to be communicated. You don't add extra emotions. Everything is all gone. Choose your battle. Is it worth it? Not worth it. Is it worth my time? Worth my sleep? Worth all that hurt I'm feeling? Is it worth it? Choose. Sometimes good sleep, exercise, yoga, healthy diet, journaling, all that helps. Seek guidance whom you have faith and can help you. Okay. Now, spiritual edition. Spiritually, how can I do? Pray to Krishna. See what Krishna is trying to teach you in that particular situation. Try to associate with devotees. Read books. Like how Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is facing conflict and he's finding it difficult to choose. Krishna is giving that wisdom. That wisdom is not only for Arjuna, for you also. Take that wisdom. It's very useful. Chanting. Chanting helps. And then offering nice bhoga to Krishna and accepting that prasadam. Doing seva. This is the ABCDE principle. If you do that, you will nourish your, there is a bad dog, there is a good dog in us. So this kind of resolutions or solution it's like a nourishment to your good dog. And that good dog will give you proper reasoning of whether you should fight or not fight. So you pray to Krishna, see what Krishna is trying to teach in this situation. And then what happens? You become calm, you become happy, you develop noble qualities. There is no regret. You come out of the situation holistically. You get better perspective. There is more self-awareness. Overall, there is a positive experience. All of you are telling how negative experience. Now add the spirituality quotient also, and you will see it will be a positive experience.